By the time Zelensky came to power, these puppeteers had already provided him with a financial cushion. It's doubtful that anyone remembered his earnings from the movies.
Regarding Zelensky and his inner circle, it is also important to take into account all the manipulations and financial frauds that characterize this team. Firstly, Zelensky concealed some parts of his stakes in companies before the presidential elections. And then, in particular, his mentor Kombizz used them for money laundering.
Empty words? By no means. As I mentioned, we will operate with facts. In the fall of 2021, investigative journalists published the so-called Pandora Papers. Nearly 12 million confidential documents from financial companies in different countries were revealed, including offshore data on 35 world leaders. Volodymyr Zelensky and his partners from the Cartel 95 studio were among them. The Ukrainian president indeed owned offshore companies, including a stake in Maltex Multi-Capital Corporation. Zelensky modestly omitted this information in his declaration. But most importantly, in 2012 to 2016, Kombizz transferred $41 million to Zelensky's offshore company.
He could be jailed in a normal country for such an offense.
But this is Ukraine, and Zelensky is its president. And according to the offshore documents, he is a very wealthy president.
Are you planning to use the state residences? Guys, let some kids live in these residences. Like some vacation camps for people who really need it.
In my opinion, it sounds cute, especially when you don't know about the residency he owns. Ready to find out? Let's go. Firstly, a villa in Miami for himself, worth $34 million. I've been to Florida and can understand the taste of the president of Ukraine. Secondly, a house in Israel for his parents on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. It's worth $8 million. Europe, Zelensky prefers Italy. Tuscany, the best wines. By the way, one of the most expensive resorts in the country, Forte del Marbi. Houses here are worth their weight in gold. In 2017, together with his wife, he bought a villa 600 meters from the sea. According to the declaration, it was worth about $3.8 million at that time. Is that all? Not at all. From the south, we moved north. Not to Siberia, of course, but to London. Old Center, legendary Baker Street, opposite the Sherlock Holmes Museum. There's another Zelensky residence, an apartment worth $3 million. Why? Probably to stay while visiting his owners with a report. More on that later. Apparently, the real estate was purchased through the company of his business partner, Sergei Sheffer. That's why he's called Zelensky's personal wallet in Ukraine. I almost forgot about real estate. Georgia, not the state, the country. A new multi-story apart hotel in the city of Batumi. You might ask, Batumi? What is that? We'll take a look. It's also a seaside resort. Apartments are under renovation, but an expensive finish, panoramic windows, and views in the city and the mountains. Hint, that it was built for well-to-do people. At least 5 apartments here belong to Zelensky. Finally, the settlement of Levadia, an elite residential complex emperor.
Look, a magnificent view of Zelensky's house opens up. Here it is, a seashore over there.
Lions, wide staircases, and columns. On the roof, there's a luxurious terrace, a pool, and a wonderful sea view. But guys, it's Crimea, which is currently under Russian control. Zelensky made a mistake here, and the Russians will surely figure out how to use it to their advantage. Zelensky's penthouse was purchased here in 2013, right before the so-called Crimean Spring. Nowadays, such a property could be worth about $1 million. However, a different amount is stated in his declaration. 1,384,000 hryvnias, or about $164,000. Well, we don't even need to mention the real estate in Kyiv, or the official residence of the head of the republic in Kombizz. Even without those, it's quite a collection of villas, houses, and apartments. However, the Ukrainian president is in no rush to give them to children, at least not to other people's children.
When I saw this person running between tables and collecting tips, roughly speaking, making compliments with an ugly smile, right from that moment, he disgusted me. He was performing at events where the payment had already been made in advance. His group was paid in cash, and still, he was running around collecting money from the tables. It showed what he had initially been like.
He was visiting Hollywood here in Los Angeles. He privately requested for meeting with some kind of arrangements to meet and have a dinner with the famous Hollywood stars like Leo DiCaprio or others. In private, not through the protocol. As a president, already sitting president who went to private dinner with a great star. This is telling a lot about his greed, about his ego.
Actors are forgiven for having villas worldwide and making big money. That's their personal business. But there are questions for a president who presents himself as a man of the people and a fighter against corruption while hiding a dirty history of money laundering.
These mythical Ukrainian roads are only built and repaired in someone's vivid imagination.
The most ambitious project of the Ukrainian president turned out to be the biggest, with a capital B, embezzlement. In the spring of 2020, Zelensky promised to build and repair 6,500 kilometers of roads in Ukraine in a couple of years. In autumn, the Prosecutor General's Office of Ukraine discovered that 129 billion hryvnias went to the big construction project, though only 127 billion were allocated from the country's budget. At first I thought maybe Zelensky wanted to build roads not only in his country, but maybe also in Poland. Nope. Just 4,000 kilometers of roads cost 120 billion hryvnias. By comparison, in 2018, only 40 billion were spent on 3,800 kilometers of roads. So the cost per kilometer tripled. Meanwhile, the same companies won a significant part of the tenders. There was a lack of funds, but roads are sacred. That's why 1 billion hryvnias from the COVID-19 fund were allocated to construction, while thousands of Ukrainians were dying from the virus. Moreover, 62 billion hryvnias allocated for cancer treatment were also spent. Meanwhile, Ukraine ranked second in Europe in terms of oncological diseases.
I thought that the systemic corruption built by Poroshenko in Ukraine could not get any worse, but Zelensky surpassed him. There are no standards, no principles at all.
In 2015, The Guardian named Ukraine the most corrupt country in Europe. You might say, that was before Zelensky. What about 2023? Well, nothing has changed. Zelensky continues to steal and deceive.